Hello, everybody, and welcome to Responsible AI in Action with the Responsible AI Institute, where we are speaking with some of the leading voices in responsible AI. I am very excited. We have Blake Brannon joining us today. Thank you so much for joining us on the show.
Awesome. Thanks, Patrick. Great to be here.
It's wonderful having the opportunity to meet you and to talk with you today. Of course, OneTrust is a member of the Responsible AI Institute. And ever since then, it's been so wonderful to learn more about the work that OneTrust is doing, about your mission, and what you're doing in the responsible AI and data space. Of course, you are the Chief Product and Strategy Officer at OneTrust. So I'm wondering if we could start there, if you could share with our listeners, what does a chief product and strategy officer do, especially at an organization like OneTrust?
Yeah, well, it's never a dull moment, but I oversee our products that we build for our customers. And that includes the strategy, the product roadmap, as well as aligning to help make our customers successful. And the exciting kind of intersection with the Responsible AI Institution is our products are used by companies that are trying to use AI, but they want to do it responsibly. And underneath that are all kinds of fascinating problems around data governance, privacy, data ethics, compliance, regulations, and things like that. So I am responsible for all the products that we build to help our customers with their own AI and sort of data privacy compliance initiatives.
Oh, wow. It's an important role.
It is, the bags under the eyes sometimes show the stress and fun that comes with it, or I'll say excitement with just everything happening in the market right now. But yes, we get to work on some really fun and cool projects.
Well, what are you seeing as some of the, because you were talking about data privacy, and of course, there's this responsible AI component, compliance, that all of these intersect in so many ways. And what you're seeing in your role at OneTrust and through the variety of different organizations that you work with, what do you think are the top priorities at this time, with the understanding that this space is evolving and changing so quickly?
Yeah. What's really awesome about AI is everyone sort of knows it's going to disrupt and touch so many things in our society and life. And that kind of makes it a pretty key thing to get right? Every organization in the world is trying to figure out, what does this mean for us and how is this going to change? And what that's forcing is a real cross-functional collaboration inside of organizations that I don't think the world's really ever seen. And what I mean by that is data is what powers your AI, and the business outcomes and business stakes are really detrimental if you get it wrong. And that's forcing compliance, data, marketing, risk teams to all really work together and to not just partnership on paper with policies and rules the way you traditionally did compliance and sort of risk management in the past, but to think about like the programmatic controls. How are we going to ensure that the information we're getting, we collect it responsibly, like we're transparent about what we're going to do with that data, and we empower users to have things like preferences and permission on what we are going to do with their underlying data. Like, are we allowed to put it in AI and use it for training, for example, is a great, very grounded, specific one. And then what actually happens once that data goes from where it was collected in our marketing and our products and our customer tools to data warehouses and all these hyperscalers and cloud technologies and then AI models and things. How do we orchestrate and ensure that like we're living up to the promise of what we said we wouldn't do? And we're able to, allow some users' data to be used for training and AI and some to not. So in the essence of all that is forcing this real cross-functional thing that's centered around what we call responsible use of data, right? It's just, are we as an organization responsibly collecting and using that data, irrespective of if it's in some crazy AI or really just using it in general? And that's what's sort of forcing this kind of thread amongst these organizations and teams. So that's what's top of mind and the exciting part of it. And to use a bit of an analogy or quote, AI has really amplified across every organization any crack that you had in your sort of privacy or data governance program. So those little small cracks of like, we don't do this great. Now they're craters, like they're massive things. Like AI just amplified and put a magnifying glass on it. And now any little small problem you have in that could be massive of an issue if you don't get your arms around it properly.
That's a really interesting point. I never actually thought of it that way, that AI, in so many ways, we talk about the potentials with AI, the risks with AI, but I think that's a really interesting take, that AI can also be used to bring to light other issues that are coming up, as you mentioned, in privacy or in other forms as well. Also, how you speak about how AI is going to be impacting so many of us, even at an individual level now as well. Of course, this week, the BBC released an article about mobile phone networks embracing AI. Of course, we had the release of Apple Intelligence following Samsung's Galaxy AI and Google's Gemini as well. And this increased use of AI means that, of course, phones will be doing a lot more computing, and that means they'll produce a lot more data as well. And AI is also being used to manage how increasingly massive data centers use energy to keep their servers cool and optimize storage capacity. So, I would love to hear your thoughts on this, Blake. How do we manage data storage as AI capabilities and systems continue to increase? And with a lot more data being created, how do we make sure that data is being used responsibly in conjunction with AI?
Yeah, it's a great question and observation. I think, there's an infrastructure build out of not just AI compute, which is why you've seen NVIDIA and many of these AI hardware organizations just skyrocket in valuation. But I think, the next thing that will break is probably honestly the electrical infrastructure, probably required to generate the electricity and do it at an affordable rate and generate that demand so that we can be competitive with training all kinds of AIs for all kinds of different things in models and with all that data. But within that data, I think you bring up a really good point that it's not just the storage, it's around how do you govern the use of it. And there's really what this is going to create is kind of not only advancements in the mobile phones, like you were saying, with like computing and running smaller language models on the device and doing things in a protected way. But I think you're going to see a little bit of that infrastructure build out towards the edge where the computation of data using AI or advanced just computational function is going to start to happen at the edge for localization of data inside a country, as well as in specifically leveraging new emerging privacy enhancing technology. So things like even Apple announced a little bit last week of like sort of secure kind of computation. And you've seen a lot of this with the hyperscalers with trusted execution environments and things like that. But there's more and more of these technologies around homomorphic encryption, federated learning, and things you can do that are really all centered around the basis of how do we more securely and responsibly get the outcome we're looking for with with whatever the data set is, while preserving privacy right, data ethics, localization requirements, protecting security, all the things that go with that. And, AI is a catalyst that's sort of driving the acceleration of that. So I think you're going to see more advanced cryptography and computational things that are privacy preserving and enhancing. You're going to see increased edge computation of that, whether it's on the phone or even localization at the edge, but less and less going to the mega cloud hyperscalers and more just infrastructure build out in general because of it.
Yeah, it's going to be this process. It's moving so quickly and is evolving so rapidly that I know for myself, I'm curious not only in how AI is going to continue to evolve, but how it impacts other sectors in the technology space as well. Blake, I cannot thank you enough for taking the time to join us today. And not only for taking the time, but I really appreciate your insights into this space as well. It's because of leaders like yourself that the rest of us are able to think mindfully about where this technology is heading, how we could utilize the benefits that's coming with it, while also mitigating the potential risks as well. So I'm so glad you were able to join us. Before heading out, where can our listeners find out more information about you and all the work that you're doing?
Yeah, well, what OneTrust.com is a good landing pad for you. And if you're interested in my personal following, and we do lots of events and things throughout the year, but you can look me up on LinkedIn, just Blake Brannon, and you'll find me there.
Wonderful. Well, I'll make sure to include the resources to those links in our show notes. So for our listeners out there, all you have to do is scroll down and click those various links provided. Blake, thank you so much again.
Thanks, Patrick.